Good morning or good day to you, Brother Rice, and welcome to the Laith Assaf Political Podcast, featuring the Chieftain Live's go-to political consultant, Mr. Ciaravino. To start us off, we're going to look at our current political situation, so let's get right into it. With the election right around the corner, curiosity and desire to discover the outcome of the election has been an idea on everyone's mind. Some of the states such as Alabama, Texas, North Dakota, Kansas, California, and New York have already been clearly decided, but no candidate has the upper hand at this point. A fairly even matchup. Although some states, such as the battleground states, Florida, Michigan, Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, haven't been decided yet, leaving the outcome of the election completely up to the states as well as the future of our nation. So the question is, how will these stations vote, and can we predict their votes? Predicting the state's vote is what will be discussed today, but through the use of polls, recent events, and the history of America. As noted in the last Chieftain Live episode, the end vote can be influenced by visiting battleground states, having good presentations during debate, staying clear of large accusations, and campaigning in general. So that brings us to our current status. We know our decided states, and we know our important battleground states. So we're going to go to our first topic, allegations, or October surprises, as our political consultant Mr. C calls it, and these allegations and how they affect our election.
You do get these every 4 years. You get these are called October surprises. Okay, you always get like a handful of things. 4 years ago was Hillary Clinton's emails.
Yeah.
Right? Something that happens like right before the election that is usually released with the sole intention of influencing, like you said, these swing voters, the people who are kind of like on the fence between this guy or this gal or these two guys. And this may be a thing, and this may seal it up for the president. I was thinking about it last night, and I said, if this goes through, this looks really bad.
Yeah, that looks bad for Biden, especially he's so ahead right now.
Right.
In like everywhere. There's only like few states, maybe one state that is really towards Republican. So
Texas.
Okay, not a big surprise.
4.4%. I think we looked at yesterday is where they were there. Yeah. So this is something that is concerning, for the Biden campaign. Although, again, I don't think Joe Biden did enough last night to persuade enough swing voters, middle of the road voters, fence voters. Nor do I think the president did anything to persuade anybody either. I thought it was kind of a, maybe like the War of 1812 a little bit. Everybody back to their corner, nobody gains really anything. So
Gotcha.
It was just, can you screw up less was the question, and I think that Biden screwed up less. So maybe that did swing some people, who knows.
Do you think Biden did a better job than last time coming up with at least some coherent arguments? Or last time he just kind of said things and I'm just wondering, do you think it was any better than how it was before?
When you say he just said things, what do you mean by that?
He didn't really say anything meaningful. I felt like he was kind of a lot of meaningless stuff. He was saying, "I'm talking to the American people."
Oh, well, he said that again quite a bit last night. He borrowed a line from President Obama when President Obama was campaigning in 2007, 2008, and President Obama borrowed that line from Thomas Jefferson from the election of 1800, where President Jefferson said, then candidate Jefferson said, we're all Federalists, we're all Republicans, meaning Democratic Republicans. And then Vice President Biden, as well as then candidate Obama, said, we're not red states and blue states, we're the United States of America, and stop trying to be so divisive. And I'm just like, it's campaign rhetoric, it's campaign jargon. I think I've told you guys before that candidates oftentimes campaign in poetry, but then when they actually get elected and have to serve, they govern in prose. One's more real, the other one's much more flowery and poetic and eloquent. So you have to convince people of certain things first before you can actually, do the job that they elected you for, obviously. So, that's what I heard a lot of yesterday. So,
just kind of like a lot of you'd say I think it was just probably better talking, maybe, not necessarily better arguments then.
Yeah, I'm not really sure even if he had better arguments either.
Really?
The vibe that I took away with last night, I didn't really feel as if this was something that, again, separated him to the degree that the Democrats want him to be separate from the president. I don't think he did. I don't think either candidate is really going to sell at Madison Square Garden anytime soon. So,
well, I guess the question is, do you think that debate changed any of the pollings?
Yeah, it's hard. Obviously, I don't have any new polling information because usually
yesterday.
Well, usually polling organizations have polling like pretty quickly right afterwards, right? I mean, there's straw polling and so on and so forth. You can go online and do a quick Twitter poll, and if you have a lot of followers, you can get thousands of replies. But those are straw polls, and those are oftentimes heavily biased because of the people who follow that particular Twitter feed, right? So it's hard to find something that's dyed in the wool accurate. So I don't know. If you're asking me personally, and I don't think either did a good enough job to sway people.
What about you brought up about the emails, about how
the October surprise of 16?
Or sorry, not emails. You brought up about how Democratic voters are going to start mailing, or that, not that they will start, but a lot of the voters are going to be coming through the mail.
Sure. So, okay. That there's been a big push, okay? And the president has made statements, sometimes contradictory statements, regarding mail-in voting or absentee voting or anything along those lines. Like the early voting returns that I've looked at so far, and this was the Washington Post, like the early voting numbers that came up relative to the 2016 early votes. Early voting is not an old thing, but it's a relatively recent thing where you can actually go in prior to Election Day and vote in person. The states that are swing states, the states that Vice President Biden is obviously trying to win, he is not getting the returns at this stage in the game that he needs to sustain a lead in those states from early voters. And if the assumption is that Democrats are doing the majority of mail-in votes, the numbers aren't even close to what they'll need to be to flip those certain states. So
for the Republicans?
Well, flip them for the Dems.
Oh, okay.
Flip them for the Dems, because as you know, we talked about before that the president won quite a few states are now, as we have indicated, up for grabs. And looking at the data from the Washington Post right here, I'm looking at states such as Florida, for example. They are significantly less in terms of the number of people who have done early voting relative to 2016. That's obviously a state that Vice President Biden wants to flip. Same thing with Carolina. Okay, but some of your states right now that are getting way more than they got in 2016 in terms of people turning out for early voting: Virginia, Kentucky, Missouri, Mississippi, Alabama. Michigan is getting a little bit more than they got in 2016 in terms of early voting. You've seen those commercials on TV here, right?
Yeah, all the time.
They repeat like one after the other. I mean, obviously that campaign has had some dividends. So
I wonder then if Michigan's gonna flip.
It's very possible. I mean, he's up. Like I said, he's up by what was it? Yeah, what did I say? 7.5% Michigan. It's entirely possible that it does flip. So entirely possible. Like they're hoping. The Democrats obviously are hoping that they flip all these states that they lost in 2016. That's obvious. So, but they registered Democrats are in fact outvoting Republicans by a large margin in some states, but not necessarily the ones that are needed to flip in order to win. That's the point. So,
is it possible that maybe it's just a lot of Republicans aren't doing early polling?
Well, I think it goes to your earlier point, which is like kind of the basis of this entire discussion, is that I think that people are still undecided, and I still think that things such as last night are not doing what people needed it to do to help them make their decision a little bit easier. And then when you add this Tony Bobulinski thing and what he's going to talk about today, that may, believe it or not, tip the scales in favor of the sitting president of the United States. It's very possible, So.
Well, yeah, because it was for the last debate. It just kind of seemed like there was just two losers.
Yeah.
And then this debate, it just seemed as there was also just two not losers. I don't really consider them winners because I don't think it changed anyone's mind particularly.
Yeah.
So everyone I feel like stayed they just seemed at the same as before, and it's going to be at the last couple of hours of voting. And people are just going to be like, all right, well, I'm just going to put in the name here. Yeah,
take a look at what's going to happen in the weekend leading up to Election Day, right? So next week, right? Take a look at on TV. You're going to see swing states, particularly Michigan's a swing state. It is okay. You're going to see even though he's up big-ish here. Just watch. You'll see more ads. Maybe you even see new ones flooded on our TV screens.
Oh, yeah.
On local news, 247.
You see them, there's so many on YouTube. There's a lot on YouTube.
It's funny you mentioned there's actually a website that's devoted to archiving old campaign ads from all the way back to Dwight Eisenhower in the early 1950s. Yeah, it's called Living Room Candidate. And in my government class, I'll show a handful of those just to kind of like show students how they've evolved over time and, ask them why it's effective and, talk about what the issues were at the time that made those ads, meaningful. So.
It was kind of funny. I was talking about it with my dad about how when Trump got COVID, Biden stopped emails against Trump for a little bit about emails dogging him.
Well, he made it a point to tell the American public that he was going to be a man of honor and integrity and take away his negative ads.
And then Trump just kept dogging Biden, which was funny.
But does that surprise you at all?
No, but I just think that's funny.
The man is got no tact.
No, but I don't even know if because once you just hear them so often, and I wonder if maybe just like ingrains in the people's minds the advertisements.
Well, it does.
It does.
That's the whole point of these things. Yeah, you appeal to emotion. That's what you try to do with these ads. And if you can appeal to emotion in 30 seconds, some of the ones are longer too. You've seen like some minute long ads before too. But if you can appeal to emotion in 30 seconds or less, then you've done your job. And there is deep psychological studies in like what appeals to people. And these people who make these ads, they know these things. These aren't just kids putting things together. In a college dorm room. These are like professionals who know exactly how to target certain people and what words to say and what actors and actresses to put in these things, these ads, and they know what they're doing.
Well, what I've noticed is that, especially for conservatives versus liberals, is conservatives tend to be more attracted to factual statements and maybe statistics, and liberals tend to be more attracted to emotions. So I wonder is it possible that people were Trump, obviously more conservative basis, would try to use more statistics, or do you think they would also just try to use emotion for that?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think the statement you made is a very interesting one, and I don't know if that's can be validated with facts.
Yeah.
Actually, I mean, I mean, that could just be something that you read, or I'm not sure. But look, you're trying to appeal to the lowest common denominator when you do these things. Okay, you're trying to appeal to someone who is trying to maybe doesn't have a lot of time to get involved in politics, maybe doesn't have a lot of time to do the research, and that's the danger a lot of this, right? Because I think a lot of people assume that people are just going to blanketly accept everything that they see, hear, and read from publications that are seen as reliable. And you've heard the president say fake news, fake news, fake news. It's not always fake news, but there are ways that all media outlets twist.
All the time.
Twist and create things just to form a narrative. Choose to report on certain stories. Choose certain words in their headlines to garner attention, to try to get clicks. They know what they're doing. But no, that's a really good question. I don't know for sure if that's something that's accurate. I mean, it's definitely an interesting thesis to explore. Like if one side does tend to focus more on that than the other, that's interesting.
Then I guess what it could be, after talking about it, I think what it could be is that facts and statistics help along with a lot of long-term belief into it.
I agree.
And then emotions help with people who are not necessarily into it as much as people who have the time to look up facts. A lot of people are busy with their lives, don't have the time to do that.
Right.
Or maybe even they'll want to do that, so be like, you know what, well, I can see this Trump guy, he's helping those metal workers and getting jobs. Oh, Biden, he's helping with equality throughout the country.
Right.
So it really could be, I think, there's that short-term kind of, not gratification, but that short-term.
You go for fear and consumption. How can I possibly either strike fear into somebody to make a decision, or strike a feeling in them that they need to consume more of something, i.e. consume more of my candidate's ideas, i.e. consume more of this product. I mean, advertisers do it all the time too. It's not just political people, man. They want to sell whatever it is that they're trying to sell, and that's the way that they choose to sell. So I think at the end of the day, you're going to see more of those. Like I said, I think leading up towards Election Day, you'll see they're going to be peppered all over Facebook, all over Twitter, all over social media. It's gonna be peppered all over television, and if you listen to the radio, it's gonna be peppered there as well. So I mean, that's just what they do. They try to appeal to people's emotions. I mean, that's every side does this.
Oh yeah,
every side does.
I think that's honestly a good place to end. Thank you, Mr. C, for coming to our talk. I'm not going to shake your hand because of COVID.
Sure. I appreciate that actually. We can do a virtual fist bump though. So there you go. There they are right there. Yeah, man.
Thank you for listening to our Chieftain Live podcast. We hope you've enjoyed our political banter, and we hope to see you again. In our next issue, we'll look at our election and its results and discuss what this could mean for the future of our nation. So make sure to stay tuned.